Hi, it's Carrie Van Ice here at Barefoot Consultants, and in this mini training video, I want to talk about the additional experience section of your CV or resume. So in this edition's feature article, I talked about the difference between soft skills and hard skills and which ones to highlight in a teaching CV or resume, and I thought we would continue with that theme of application materials in this video as well. So most of us are used to doing a very traditional type of resume. It's something that we've probably been doing for decades, and it probably hasn't changed that much in decades either. But if you do a quick Google search, modern resume or modern CV, you will see that things have changed quite a bit with the advent of word processing programs that can do all kinds of crazy things. We're beyond the typewriter days. We can now add lots of different sections, photos, all kinds of things to a CV or a resume. So things have changed a little bit, and maybe it's time to catch up with the times. There are now different sections that you'll find on a modern resume or CV. And one of those is the skills section, which, as I said, I talk about in this edition's article. And so here I want to talk about additional experience, which is, of course, an optional section that you can add to your resume, but it does serve a very good purpose. So here are some things that you might consider putting into an additional experience area. These would be jobs that are not related to teaching. So this is a great place to put something that might represent a gap in your employment history if you're only listing relevant work experience when applying for an English teaching job, which is what I recommend you do. Unless you've had some kind of job where working with words, presenting, training, presenting manuals, instructional manuals, and all that was a major duty that you had, it's maybe not that relevant to list that in your work experience. So what I'm saying is you don't have to list every job you've ever had. Those days are kind of gone when it comes to CVs and resumes. The people who are hiring you to be a teacher. So what they really want from you is they want to see any relevant work experience that you have. So my recommendation is take 4 or 5 of your previous jobs that were somehow related to, as I said before, training, maybe project management, anything to do with words, document production, some manuals, anytime that you were teaching somebody something new. Those would be the jobs that you would want to highlight in your work experience. So the additional experience section can be seen as a place to list other jobs so it doesn't appear like there's a gap in your employment. Another thing that you can list here in additional experience is volunteer experience. Any volunteer experience that you have that would relate to teaching. Now, I have a caveat for this, which is if your volunteer experience is teaching English, you should actually put that in your work history section because you want that to appear as high up in your resume as possible to catch the attention of a future employer and to be able to highlight all of the things that you did and the skills that you gained while doing that volunteering. Any kind of other volunteering that you might have done, some community volunteering, maybe you spent some time volunteering at a school of one of your kids, that could be relevant. Something, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, anything that you might have done where you were acting in the role as a teacher, mentor, or guide. Next, and this one might seem a little bit odd, but especially if you are applying for jobs on the ground in a school, university, or language institute, you might want to mention any first aid experience that you have. Now, this doesn't lock you into having to resuscitate somebody if some big thing goes down, but it does speak to you understanding that you take your responsibility in the classroom very seriously, and it goes beyond just being a teacher. You are actually there and thinking about the well-being and the safety of your students. So for me, for example, for quite a while, I was a first responder, which meant that I had a little bit more first aid training than the average person had with whatever their job might have been. And I actually highlighted that on my resume when I was applying for jobs teaching English here in Mexico. I don't know if anybody else does that, but to me, it kind of was an extra layer of me as a person and also something that I could offer the school if they needed it. Something else that you might want to do is to list any kind of public speaking that you have. If you were a part of Toastmasters, for example, if you don't know what Toastmasters is or you've never heard of it before, it's an organization that focuses on helping people improve their public speaking skills. It's a community group. It's something that usually meets once a week, and you actually prepare and perform speeches in the organization, and you are critiqued and helped and coached by the people in the group. So that's something else that can make you stand out above the crowd. So as I said, list jobs not related to teaching English that can fill in any gaps that you might have in your employment history. Any volunteer experience, especially if it's related to working with children, working with being a teacher, mentor, or guide, or also if it's something that you did that really had you involved with people who did not speak English as their first language. This would be great to mention here as well. And then any public speaking that you might have done. So these are just a few tips for adding an additional experience area to your resume and ways that it could serve you when you go to apply for a job teaching online or on the ground. And that's it for this video, and I look forward to seeing you in next month's feature video.